Walter Miller, Miller Chevrolet, Elkridge, Maryland. Oh, I know you're just a young man, but I wonder, would you mind telling me how old you are? When were you born?
1906.
1906. See, you are. You're just a youngster.
Yeah.
You had your 80th birthday?
Not yet.
Not yet. Is that going to be? Is that why your sister's coming up?
No, a couple months from now.
How many children were in your family that grew to adult?
We had 5 boys and 2 girls. I had 4 brothers.
And where were?
I'm the oldest.
Okay, and the 2 sisters are still living.
Still living, yes.
Are they younger than you?
Yes.
They're both younger.
Mm-hmm.
Coming across Montgomery Road now, I just drove down that way. Miller's Corner was where 103 turns,
Yes.
or Old Montgomery Road?
Old Montgomery Road goes across there when I was coming up, we lived there at Miller's Corner.
The house still there?
Yeah, but you wouldn't know it. The barns have fallen down. It's the first entrance when you go around the corner. If you go on Montgomery Road, get up to Miller's Corner, and then you make a turn, and this road keeps on going over.
And where does this road go?
This goes to up to 29. This is Montgomery Road, goes all the way through to 29. Then you got Waterloo Road coming up here. This is Junction, but that goes out to...
Right. This is Montgomery Road.
That's
coming
right.
Across, and this is...
That's the one that goes across
That's
there.
Meadow Ridge now, 103.
No, Meadow Ridge is right here. It comes up down the boulevard.
Yeah.
It's goes across to hits this Waterloo Road over on over there where that big blind institution is over there.
Okay. And how long did your family live at Miller's Corner? Did your parents live?
Yes.
Your father grew up there?
My father grew up there, yes. My
And
mother was from Germany. She came over when she was 6 years old from Liebenau, over Himmel ist immer blau. You know any German?
No, I wish I did.
Well, we couldn't talk English till we went to school.
So did your father speak German
Oh,
then?
yes. We
Miller? Is that German?
No, Muller, but Miller, I don't know. I don't think it's German, but that was his name anyway.
Muller or Miller?
Miller.
You think it might have been Mueller or something?
It might have been.
So he knew German?
Yes.
Was he born in Germany?
No, he was born here.
And how about his father?
I think he was born here too. I'm not sure about that. I think maybe he was from Germany.
You remember your grandfather Miller?
He was buried when I was about 5 years old.
So you don't?
That's right.
Where is he buried?
He's buried in the Lutheran cemetery over there on Waterloo Road.
Okay.
Right where this road comes out over there is a
Trinity.
No, there was a Trinity over there too. They have a graveyard over there, but the church is gone.
Okay.
It used to be a church there, but now it's the only one church, a Lutheran.
Right. Is that Salem or St.
It's
St. John's?
St. John's.
Right.
St. John's.
And that's where
That's where my grandparents are buried.
Where are your parents?
My parents are buried in Meadow Ridge.
Oh, I see. At the time that you lived at Miller's Corner all the time that you were a boy, or did the family?
No.
You grew up there?
Yeah.
Were there any other houses along Montgomery Road then?
Oh, yes. There was the Frank Millers that lived right there at the corner of Meadow Ridge and Montgomery Road. Mm-hmm. And then down the other house right on the turn, that my brother lived there.
Okay, there's a little house at Meadow Ridge, and then there's a big yellow house now that sits there, close to the road. Was that one of the Millers?
That was one of the Millers. They're all Millers around. Then they go up a little bit further. There's 2 more Millers.
Were they all related?
Yes.
No,
they weren't. They were not related to us.
They were related to each other.
Yeah, that's right. Not to us.
I see. All of these houses that have been built, the little Cape Cods and the stucco houses, on this end of Montgomery Road. Do you remember what period of time they were built in?
That has been too long. Hasn't been too long.
Since World War II?
Well, yes. Since World War II, yes. Because I was away for over 5 years in World War II. And
when you came back, were there lots of changes? Or?
not too many right then, but then it started after the war was over. Not too long. All these above the bank there and all those, they were built after the war.
And were those veterans coming back that were building those houses?
Not too many, no.
No, they were older people?
Yes. And then you got up here about, not far from Washington Boulevard, you've got two or three locations that are building right now.
Oh, yes.
Right now. And they've been building. One right there where Lawyers Hill Road comes out, across the road, is building fiercely right now.
Lots of townhouses
Yes, that's
going
right.
up.
That's right.
So the population is really growing
That's right.
through here. Your sister told me
700, body shop at
when you
1,
went to school,
700,
you went
body
to Piper's
shop at
Corner,
1.
Yes. Public school.
and that none of you boys went on to high school?
No, Charlie and I, we went through the grade school, and then I had a brother running this school. It used to be a school over here on where the Catholic institution is now, over on
St. Augustine?
no, St. Augustine's right up here.
Uh-huh.
No, this is over where they have a school over there on Chester Road.
Trinity?
Trinity. And we were, it wasn't Trinity then.
Donaldson School.
Donaldson School.
Right.
And my brother ran that place.
Your brother?
Yeah, Henry, the oldest boy.
Was he a...
He was a farmer.
Uh-huh.
And he did nothing but farm.
And what did he run over there?
He ran the whole farm.
Oh, I see. He
Just a
ran the
farm.
farm
Yeah,
there.
yes.
And Trinity had a farm?
Yeah, it was Donaldson School at that time.
Donaldson, right.
They had a farm, big one, and they raised all what they
Food.
needed. They had
I
chickens and eggs and you name it, they had all that.
I see.
And I used to work over there a lot
Ah.
for him. And then I got to know some of the people over there, and they said, well, we'd like to have you go through this school. Won't cost you a nickel.
Oh, wow.
And I talked to my father and mother, and they said, no, none of the rest of them had it. You can't have it either. That's the way it was brought up. So then Charlie and I went to Brown Institute for 4 years. Night school, 3 nights a week.
That's an art
That's an art.
school.
That's an art. I've got some art drawings at home that I won the Seymour Mailbound Prize, and they had them down the Institute for years, and I went down a couple of years ago and told them I won them, so I took them home.
Oh, that's marvelous. Was Charlie an artist too?
Oh, yeah, he
He painted?
painted.
How did you happen to select to go there?
I don't even know.
You don't remember.
He decided it, and I went with him.
And did you travel each day back and forth, or did you live in the city?
No, we traveled every evening. We had a Model T Ford. And at that time, you didn't have any cars, and we'd go right down Pratt Street all the way down. That's where it was, down Mash Market.
Oh, it was. At Marsh Market?
Yeah,
The Maryland Institute was down there
that's
then?
right, over the market.
Oh, my. And you were, this was before, while you were in your teens?
Mhm.
Were you a teenager?
Mhm.
Were you working during the day?
Oh, yes.
Were you working on the farm?
We worked on the farm, yes.
I see.
We helped each other. We didn't get, if I worked for somebody else one day and got paid for it, I got 25 cents a day.
Oh, wow.
But we did a man's work.
And Mr. Miller, Charlie was working with you
Yes,
on the farm?
Yes,
You were the two closest in age,
yes.
and the other two boys were older.
The 3 of them, Frederick and Elmer and Henry.
Were older.
Yes.
When did you start in the automobile business?
1928.
The two of you, as a,
two of us, yes.
here in Elkridge?
In Elkridge, building, first building, after you go through underneath the railroad here, on the left where the Balmer transformer is now. That's where we started in business.
What did you call the business?
Miller Chevrolet.
It was.
Mhm.
Was there another dealer, automobile dealer here in Elkridge?
No, not at that time.
Was there later?
No, just in our building. During the war, I wasn't here for 5 years, and they handled used cars. The Downs boys at that time
Okay.
took it over and worked while I wasn't here.
And they called it Downs Garage then? Or?
No, they still call it Miller Chevrolet, but they had more other cars too. Not new ones because
You couldn't get them?
no, couldn't get new ones anyway.
What did your brother, had he started his own business by that time?
Who?
Charlie? in
No,
World
we
War
were
II?
together we were together up here.
Mhm.
And then Scott, Charlie Scott's father,
Melville's.
Melville Scott,
Service 701, please.
which is an
Service
insurance
701.
company
Mike
now.
Baldwin, Terry Line 1, please.
I know Elwood Wallach. He
Yeah.
sings with me every Sunday.
Mr. Wallach
Yeah,
did?
he,
The older, the
young-
father or the younger?
the younger fellow
Okay.
that runs the insurance.
In the insurance, right.
He sings in the same choir I do.
Oh, is that the Lutheran church?
Yes. Yeah. And their parents, Scott's parents, went broke in 29. We started in 28.
Is that with the crash? Was that?
Yeah, that's right. That's when everything went kaput in German.
Right, I know.
Anyway, then Chevrolet came down here. We were associate dealer under Scott at that time.
Right.
So then Chevrolet came down here and said, look, it's two of you, and you live in Elkridge, and Charlie lived in Elkridge City at that time. And they said, you can stay together, but leave Charlie run Elkridge City and you run Elkridge, because that's the way you live. And you can still be, you both can be together in both places.
Right. Both businesses.
Yes. And then they come along after the war in 48 and said, we're going to separate you. So,
You were together almost 20 years?
yes, 48. Then they,
Where was he living when he was
he
in?
was living in Ellicott City.
Where?
Uh,
Not on the farm now.
Terry
Not,
Line?
not
no,
on Grey Rock.
no, it was down in the town, right across.
From the bank, or?
No, it was up where 29 comes
Yes.
down.
Okay.
You go in, then you go toward, go west, and then you can see our old garage there.
Yeah.
Right above that is a road goes
Merriman
back.
Street?
Merriman Street up there. He lived way back on that
I see.
at that time.
Merriman or Hill Street?
Hill Street, I believe. Hill
Okay.
Street, yes, Hill Street.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
And so, and then he was running, was it still called the Green Cross Garage when he had it?
Yes, for a while. Not too long though. Then we changed it to Miller Chevrolet.
When did you build the new building on Main Street? After the war?
No.
No. Before World War II?
Before World War II.
It doesn't matter.
It was close either one way or the other. I don't know right now. But
Right before?
we got tired of running. We were on that back
Mhm.
street there, and we'd have to come out, go down to 29, and come up here to get in the garage.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
You got to it off Columbia Pike. You
Yeah.
call it 29, but that's Columbia Pike
Yeah, that's
today.
right. That's right.
And you'd have to get to
You'd
the back
have
of the
to come out on the street up here and then go around and get up, and we got tired of that pretty quickly because, and then when you come down that, you had a real steep incline to go up in the garage
from 29 or from the Pike?
from the pike, whatever it is, from the pike. Anyway, one day we were bringing a car down and the brakes failed.
Oh, my.
And we run across the street and went into Ike Taylor's old buildings over there.
That was,
And then we started to do something else. Anything could have happened.
Calvin Grant,
Just lucky
701,
nothing was
please.
going
Calvin
away.
Grant, 701.
so you don't remember whether it was before World War II that you built that new building? The new,
It was before World War II.
before you went away?
Yes.
Did Charlie go to the service?
No.
You were younger.
He wasn't.
Were you in the Army?
Yes.
Or were you married then?
No.
Was Charlie married?
Charlie was married.
He was. So they didn't take married men as quickly either.
No, they wanted, they left them alone for a
For
while.
a while, right. Then when did you build this new building?
This was in about the 48 we started this, about 48.
I see. So you've been here almost 40.
We had the land. We owned this land, but there was nothing on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we couldn't build anyway. They wouldn't let you build anything during the war. And then they came to us and said, the reason I know it was built after the war, they said, now if you want to put up a service garage, we'll let you do that because there's a lot of people work and have to go back and forth to work with their cars. And if their car is laid up, they can't go to work. So if you want to build a service garage, you can do that. So we did that, and we had a little office in the service department. And we had a service department that we fixed the cars.
What do you remember anything about World War I? You were pretty young.
Yeah, not much.
You were living down there on Miller's Corner.
That's right.
But it didn't affect you?
No, we didn't have no automobiles or nothing at that time.
Just were living
You didn't go nowhere.
When did you sell your farm? Was it after your parents died, or the Miller?
They were dead because they left to. My mother left the farm to Frederick, who was in the middle of the five boys.
Uh-huh.
He didn't have nothing, so they left him the farm.
I see.
All the rest of us had
Business.
things to do.
Mm-hmm.
And of course Henry was dead. He had a heart attack when he was 35, I believe. He was in the automobile business too. Not long.
With you?
No. He had across from where our new place up there was, he had a Ford garage.
What did he call that? In Ellicott City?
Yes,
you
Ellicott City.
Was it just the Ellicott City garage?
I
or
think
something?
that's the way it was, Ellicott City Ford.
Uh-huh.
And
Not very long?
No, he didn't have it long because he was taking someone home. His car broke down, and he lived way up there where that big Catholic institution is. You go up.
Dorchester Road?
No, that's up the other way. They had a school up there.
St. Charles College?
St. Donaldson. Yeah.
Duregan Manor?
Duregan Manor. That's and this fellow lived up there, and he was coming home. There was a lot of snow on the ground already, and he couldn't get his breath, I guess, so he opened the door and leaned on the door. And that's where he died, and he slipped down in the snow.
That was...
And that's where we found him. Charles and I went up there.
He was just a young man.
Yeah.
That must have been tragic. Was he married?
Yes.
He was. Does he have children?
He has 2 children. Henry used to be his son was a Chevrolet dealer in, was on Route 40 up Aberdeen.
Oh, I see.
And his sister, Henry's sister is married. She lives in Florida.
I see. How about the other brother? See, there were 5 of you.
Yeah, Elmer. That's the next one up the line between Fritz and Henry. He was assistant postmaster general in Washington. He went up fast.
Did he have? He didn't have more education though. He just knew the right people.
That's right. He was a mail clerk. He went to school too, night school.
Where did he go?
Somewhere here, I don't remember. Somewhere here in Baldwin.
Polytechnic.
Somewhere in around Baldwin here. I don't know where. But then he got a job on railway mail on train service to Philadelphia and New York. He was a railway mail clerk. And then he had all Eastern Shore for a while. Then they made him assistant postmaster general in Washington.
This is Fritz or Emery?
That's Elmer.
Elmer.
He had a big home up just north of Philadelphia for a long time, and I was in the Army up at Philadelphia. I had to guard that railroad up there because that's where they all got all the ammunition stuff, and we had to guard that to keep everything going. And the train people we had a big barrel there, and they'd come through there and put some coal in there, and we had to fire all the time because it was cold as the tickets on that bridge across the river there. And then at the other end, the folks at the other end would send their children out with coffee and donuts and stuff like that in the evening because we had to be there, walk that railroad track all night and all day.
So you were at a camp in Philadelphia, or?
We stayed at the Pennsylvania, it's a big school right there, Pennsylvania, what do they call it? Not Penn State.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's a real big school.
And your brother, did you get to visit him then when you were there?
Yeah, once in a while, not too much.
Did he have children?
Elmer had, no, he had no children.
And then your other brother, Fritz.
Robert Miller, 701,
Fritz didn't
please.
have, he had 2 children.
Did he live around here?
He lived, yes.
Robert, 01.
He lived up on a farm for quite a while.
Is he the one that farmed for Donaldson School, or that was Henry?
No, that was Henry.
I see.
Fritz was the third.
Oh, he farmed your folks' place.
That's right. That's right.
And they left it to him then.
That's right.
Did he marry?
He married, had 2 children, and then his wife took the children and left him, so he was alone.
I see. When Henry had the farm, was that his own farm that he was farming, or your?
Henry, no, he had the Donaldson School farm.
Oh, I see. He ran it.
He
the
ran it
Donaldson
for the school,
owned
yes.
it. Oh, okay. Do you remember anything about the Donaldson School?
Some, yes. I worked there quite a bit. I remember we were planting potatoes. And I had 2 boys from the school that worked there all summer. And you'd take a potato and cut it, and you'd cut it in pieces, and you'd leave 2 eyes on each piece.
Right.
Mr. Miller, 701.
And then you put it with the cut part down so the eyes could come right straight up, see? And they did that for a while. And then they got tired of stupid and put those things down. And I said, "You're not doing it the way I told you to do it." He said, "Oh, yes, we are. We're dropping them with the eyes up, but I can't help what happens to them when they hit the ground."
Did you get any potatoes that year?
Oh, yes. They stooped some more.
I understand Stuart Symington went to school there. Did you ever?
I didn't know.
No.
Sinclair, Jerry 1.
At that time. When you came back in the 40s, then you came back in 45 at the end of the war.
46.
46.
Yeah.
Had you gone abroad?
No, I didn't go for
You
it.
stayed-
I stayed, my company went abroad. I was in the 29th, Company D, 29th Division. And then I got a call from Washington. The general over
Mr.
Washington,
Miller, Terry line 1.
uh,
That might be you.
where was I?
You went to Washington instead of going over.
Oh, the people in Washington, I don't know how they found
Body
out.
shop,
I was in the
700,
automobile
please.
business,
Body shop, 700.
and they needed
Mike Boslett, Terry 1.
a man in Pennsylvania that would see that all the things that the Army ran into during the war were handled, fixed right away on any additional vehicles we sent over. And that was my job.
700, please. Body shop,
I
700.
was corporal here, and then they offered me a commission to go to Pennsylvania, and I said, yeah, I'll accept the first lieutenant. And the call came back and said, you'll accept the second lieutenant and report to ready first thing tomorrow. So then I knew a couple officers down here at Meade. I didn't know how to know the officers' clothes, so we went. One of them took me downtown and got a suit of clothes for to report the next day. And I got up there about 6 o'clock, I guess. And the commanding officer up there said, Lieutenant, I understand that you don't drink. That's correct. He says, I do. And he said, your first duty is to go with me every night I go out and see that I get home.
Oh.
that was my first job. Well, thank the Lord that he was moved.
And you didn't have to go out every night.
No, a
with me.
couple months he was gone.
Oh, that was a terrible job. When did Charlie get involved in politics? Was that after the war, or while you were gone, or?
That was, he was on the board.
The commissioner,
Council.
county commissioner.
Yes, council.
Um, that was his beginning.
That's
Mike
right.
Boslett, come to the cashier window.
That was, I think that was after World War II.
Mm-hmm. And when did he get by Grey Rock? Do you remember when? Do you remember when he was looking for the farm?
I remember that. That had to be after the war too, because not too long after the war.
Did he buy it from the Herbert family? Do you remember?
I don't remember who he bought it from. I know that.
Did he live in that old frame house before and built a new brick house for his family?
He lived in the old frame house there.
And that was an old one.
That was an old.
It's still standing.
Yes.
Right. That was Thomas Beale Dorsey's home
That's
back in the
right.
late
That's right.
1700s.
I don't know whether anybody living in it now or not.
I'm not sure either. I know he had tenants in it.
I know that fellow Palmer, Bob Palmer, works up at the other place, lives there, but I believe he's got a new house.
There's all new houses being built around it.
Yeah, got streets named after Charlie's wife. And,
Oh, is that right?
yeah.
Oh. Then there's an old stone building adjacent to that house.
Yeah, that's right. I don't think that's being used.
No, they thought maybe that was the slave quarters.
Could have been. Could have been.
Did they tear down buildings after you bought it?
Yes, they tore some down.
Were there like log
They
cabins?
couldn't keep them.
Were there log
There
buildings?
was some, and there one was way out in the field, and that was a barn. Well, that burned down.
I see.
And then some of the old barns were torn down, and one house, I believe, was torn down.
You had started the automobile business here before World War II.
Yeah.
What was Howard County like then? Did people have much money, or
No, they didn't have much money. And, just like old Billy Bloom. He was a cattle dealer up there on 108.
At Bloom's
Not too
Corner?
Far, Bloom's Corner, not too far from Howard High School.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Walter, if you teach me how to drive, I'll buy a car from you. So I went in to get him a learner's card. Commissioner Mullery was downtown at that time. And I went up, because he was 80 years old.
And you were going to teach him to drive?
Yeah. So the girl giving out the learner's card said, we want to see this man before we issue a learner's card. So then another dealer's man was standing in line on another line getting, I said, here, put this through again. Try it. So they didn't catch age that time. I got him a learner's card.
Did you teach him to drive?
Yeah.
And did he buy a car from you?
Yes, he did. There's a man running for office.
Is that Mr. Holloway?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see his face. I had seen the card there.
Anyway, I agreed to teach him to drive, and I give him a car, and he had a 20-acre field. He just cut the hay off of. I delivered the car, and he said, I said to him, now look, this car's full of gas. And I said, you stay in the middle of this field. Don't get near the side. It was dry.
Mm-hmm.
And his name was Billy Bloom. And I said, if you forget how to stop it, keep on running and run the gas out.
Well, they were more complicated to drive then, too, weren't they?
Yeah, you had pedals and stuff, everything else. Anyway, he must have tried to stop it 2 or 3 times, and he did it. So then he thought, well, I guess I can put it in a shed.
Oh.
So he ran back to the house and went in the shed and forgot how to stop it and run right through the back end. Run right out.
But the cars were so sturdy then, it
Yeah.
probably didn't hurt the
Didn't
car
hurt it, no.
as much as it did the shed.
But he knocked the back of the shed out, and then he got that straightened out. And then one morning he came out to Bloom's Corner there, and came on down the garage, and I was up at Upset at that time. And he came in there and he said, Walter, I come out to 29 this morning. He said, one come this way, one come this way, one come this way. He said, God damn, I got through them all.
Well, what would he think today with all the cars, right? He'd never get through any
But
of
he
them.
could never remember the questions. So every time we had somebody to go up, we took him up to Westminster because it was easier driving up Westminster than it was downtown. And I'd take him along. And the 5th time, he told the cop, state officer, asked me questions. He said, well, God damn you. He cussed every word he said anyway. He's one of those cattle dealers. He said, I'm going to drive the car. And he said, if you catch me, I'll pay the fine. Without license.
Without a license.
So the cop started to smile. Then he called me aside and he said, can he drive a car? I said, he can drive where he wants to go. All he wants to go is church and farm, a store. And he's got one of them, either one's right close to him. So he said, all right, I'm going to pass him, but I'm not going to ride with him. When he goes that far.
Oh.
He said, you're going to take him around where they took him around the courthouse mall, and I'll follow him. And that's the best thing ever happened, because I could tell him what to do. Steer him straight. Came back, and I got him a license.
Oh, wow.
I'm telling you.
Now, was he the Bloom that Bloom's Corner, or was it another Bloom there?
No, it was a Bloom up there on that cattle farm. And he'd buy cattle whenever.
Didn't somebody have a store by the name of Bloom
Yeah.
at the corner? Was
I think
that?
that was connected with that Bloom family too.
Uh-huh.
And every time I had a fellow said, I got a cow and a calf, And if you take them as a down payment on a new car, I'll buy a new car from you. So what I did is take Billy Bloom and let him look at the counting cab. He said, well, I'll give you $150 for them. And that made the down payment on a new car.
Oh, did that happen a lot, that people bartered or
Something like
traded?
that, yeah. I had another lady had already bought a car, but she couldn't make a payment. Couldn't make this one payment. Anyway. She said, I got enough chickens up there that will make this payment. If you were taking to market, I'd make the payment. That's the way we have it.
Now, did they pay you directly then for the cars, the payments, or did they make them to a bank?
They made them to GMAC or the bank, but they made the payments to us.
They did.
We've taken to the bank with it.
Oh,
They're still doing that. A lot of people come in here and make their payments right here to GMAC.
well, I didn't know that. I thought everybody just
No,
sent
no,
them
no.
away.
They coming in here, I save them some money because then we take the payment and they come up and get it.
I see.
When
Did you
it's-
ever have any reason to go to Belmont? Did you have any association with the Bruces up there?
I used to go with a girl that worked up there for a while.
Uh-huh. When the Bruces lived there,
Yes.
back in the 20s.
Yeah. And then they were fine people. I broke a leg, broke an ankle, playing ball,
Baseball?
Yeah.
Softball? Or
baseball. I was the third baseman on the team.
the Elkridge team?
No, it was Elk City.
Oh.
We played on Rock Hill
Oh, you
ground up
Oh,
there.
yes, the
Yeah.
40 acres.
Yeah, 40 acres.
Uh,
And I slid into second base, got my spikes tied up in the bag and broke my ankle.
oh, wow.
So I was on crutches and I was sitting down on the porch where we lived up here on the farm. We built that little house right there at Moldings Lane. My father and mother lived there, and they built this house so they could live there without being on the farm. It was just on the corner of the farm. And that's where I lived too then. I was sitting out on the porch, had a broken ankle, and Mrs. Bruce, the chauffeur, taking him past, and she saw this leg I had sticking up, and she made him stop. And she come running in, and she went home and got me a book to read.
Wasn't that nice?
Yeah, up to Belmont, and
What?
brought me a book.
That was really thoughtful.
People were different.
They knew everybody. It was just
That's
one
right.
big family.
People were different.
They really cared.
I had
When did you buy up there on Lawyers Hill Road?
about 48, somewhere in that area.
And were there very many homes then up there?
No, pretty. It's about the same now. Wouldn't
All those, like where Charlie Whalen is?
No, they're new. A few new ones up that end, but down the other end, they're all the same.
Yes, because they're all older
That's right.
houses. Now, what did you tell me? Was yours an old house or?
No, Daniel Murray, who was a lawyer, owned my place, but it burned down.
Was it a frame house?
Yes.
When he owned it?
And then Getty built the house where I am now. It's brick, and it had all copper gutters and everything. You go
When did he build that?
32.
And how long did he live there?
Not too long. And then Senator somebody from Savage lived there for a while. And that's-
Wasn't Senator Shipley, wasn't French?
No, it
No,
wasn't. I'm thinking about Dr. Shipley.
Yeah.
He was.
He was a senator, though.
Yeah,
I think.
that's right.
Wasn't there a senator from Elkridge?
Yes, so that's.
Donovan or?
No. O'Malley was a big boss here in Elkridge for a long time.
Right, now he was the other party though, wasn't he?
Yeah, Democrat. Yeah. But he ran the ship.
I've heard that.
He was a big guy, and Frank Miller was a head of the police, and he was close to him. Frank Miller was the one who lived up there across from us.
Those were the other Millers.
Yes.
And they were Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
And he ran the police?
He was one of the big shots in the police department at that time. Bush was a big man.
In Ellicott City?
Yeah.
There weren't many policemen, were there, actually?
No, because didn't have nothing to go in.
That's right.
Mr. Bush would say if you see so-and-so, tell him I want to see him. He'd make the people come in to him. He didn't.
And be arrested, huh?
That's right. That's right.
Who was this Mr. Norris that was your policeman here in Elkridge? Did you hear Officer Norris that I've seen pictures of with his hat?
It wasn't North.
Norris. Norris?
Norris. Yeah. He was an old fellow at that time too. And he lived up here on, not on Warriors Hill, the one up further. Oh, you go up River
Landing
Road.
Road.
No, up here along the river, you go up all the way to
Rockburn?
Rockburn. He
Yeah.
lived up there, yes.
Uh-huh.
He was an old guy. He was a good fellow.
Now, did he work for Mr. Wush, or was he kind of an independent?
He was sort of an independent Elkridge cop.
Uh-huh. Did he have much to do in those days?
Not too much. Was no cars, no nothing.
Do you remember before Route 1 was moved over from Main Street?
Yes, I remember that because we took our butter and eggs and fruit in the summertime to Monroe Street. We had the whole block of Balmer Street. They all bought the eggs, butter, and stuff from us. We had a horse and wagon. We'd go in, and Harkins had a big store up here. We're right on this side, where the firehouse is up there.
On the old Washington
yeah,
Road?
That's and then we'd come over the railroad track down here.
And that was the old road. And
That
then,
was the old road.
when was it when they moved it out here? In the 30s? Before you went away to the war, wasn't it?
Yes. I don't know exactly when, but they put this around.
What's this called? Buttermilk Road?
Buttermilk Hill here, yes.
And why is it called that?
I don't know why it's called Buttermilk Hill. That's all.
Was there a story about the farmer's
Must
home
have had
and
it was some story about buttermilk
the milk turning to
Yeah,
buttermilk
right.
or something?
going up and down that hill.
You know. And that's on the new road. that it
That's
was
on a new
called.
road, yes.
That was
That's
a
on
rough
the-
road
yeah.
when they first put it in.
Yeah.
Was it, it was only 2-lane, of course,
That's right.
and dirt? No, I guess it was hard surface.
No, they had some filling on it.
Do you remember Main Street when it had all the shops on there, the
Mhm,
stores,
mhm.
hardware stores? Did you
Yeah.
used to go shopping there?
Yeah, we bought some things there.
Clothes and hardware.
Never bought no clothes here, no.
Where would you buy your
We'd
clothes?
go in
Baltimore?
Baltimore, because we went in there every week anyway.
You went in by buggy or by train?
No, we went in there, we took our butter and eggs and everything in a wagon,
What?
covered wagon.
With the horse?
One horse, yes.
Well, you were young then,
Oh, yes, I was real young.
and you would buy your clothes in the city then?
Yes.
You never went in by train?
No.
Um,
Yes, I did too.
but not regularly?
No, we went in by train when I went to service in 41. We had to go to Elk City. And, Judge Clark, at that time,
The senator's father?
Senator's father, we were walking down, I was in Elk City Rotary Club, and he was too. And we were walking down the steps at Hardin's at that time.
The tourist home
Yeah.
there?
And
Is that where the Rotary Club met?
yes. And then we were walking down the steps, and he said, "Walter, you ready?" I said, "I'm as ready as I'll ever be." He said, "All right, you can go in next week as a volunteer, or next week I'll take you." I said, "I'll leave it up to you. Doesn't make no difference." He said, "All right, you go in next week as a volunteer." And so I met him up there, and we had about 3 or 4 milk breaks. We had about 15, 20 went in. He gave me all the tickets for the streetcar, and he said, "Now here are the tickets. You get them into the armory."
You take responsibility. You were a little bit older than most of the fellows, weren't you? You were about 30 when you went in?
Oh,
Or
yeah, about 33.
Right, most, was the other
Most
fellows?
of them were younger than that.
Right.
See, if I'd have been 35, they couldn't took me. So
Oh, well, it was a good experience, wasn't it?
then I had another experience during the war. I had 300 German prisoners for probably a year
What, in Philadelphia?
in Reading, Pennsylvania.
What were you doing in Reading?
That's where I got all these cars ready
All right.
for shipment.
Were they working on the car side?
They worked on the cars for me, yes, because I could talk to them in German, and they were glad to be here, I'll tell you that.
They were
They were
They were
glad.
alive and eating.
Yeah, that's right. One was 16, one was 60.
60.
Yeah, I said, what in the world are you two doing in the army? Individual. I said, what are you doing in the army? 60 years old? He said, Herr Miller, we didn't have no, it was in German.
Yeah.
We didn't have any men left. They took any male that could walk. I
So
said,
many were killed.
yeah, they were gone. That's a darn crime for what?
That's,
For what?
now, where did they live?
That's what his business is.
Uh-huh.
He says, Waller, when you're ready to move that tree, I'll do it for the church. Nothing.
Oh, well, that's marvelous. Sure. Did you ever go up, you dated a girl from Belmont. Was she working there?
Working there.
Now, did she live on the ground
She
somewhere?
stayed there, yes.
At the big
At-
house
yes,
itself?
That's right.
So you got to go,
I got in the house some, but the thing that was fascinating was their yard in back of the house. Boy, I'm telling you.
it's beautiful now, I imagine
Yeah,
it
but you ought to saw it before.
was. Now, Mrs. Bruce had an accident, and then they added on to the house. Do you remember anything about that?
Not much. Not much.
And they were horse people.
Yeah.
Did you read a lot in the paper about?
He was, Barton Hayward.
Robert Miller,
He
702,
was,
please.
he was
Robert
a
Miller,
big man at
702.
Barton Hayward, and
Oh,
my
I
brother Charlie worked for Bartlett and Hayward.
What kind of business was that?
That was, they manufactured some kind of metal things. It was right there where Montgomery Ward is now.
On Monroe Street?
Monroe Street.
And that's what Mr. Bruce, that was his business.
That was his business.
But they were known for their thoroughbred horses.
Oh, yes. They had the,
They even have a cemetery, don't they, there? With the
I remember one time I went up there and they had this horse from England going over here. And he was an honored horse. And I went to look at him through, they had doors, half doors. So I went to look at him through that half a door, and the darn horse took his whip and bit my face. Had my whole face scarred for a while.
Oh, my.
Yeah, he was honored.
Ooh. That would be something.
That's the way it was.
Sergeant 703,
When you
please.
moved up
Sergeant
on
703.
Lawyers Hill in 48, I guess there was, Mr. Brown was still there in the Dobbin house. Did you know him? Do you remember?
I know him not. I didn't know him well, no.
Because he sold up, I
Yeah.
guess, about that time.
Mhm.
And then there were, like, the Pennemans, were they
Yeah,
still living up
They
there?
were there, yes.
And other Dobbin descendants, like Robert Dobbin or some of them were still living?
Some of them were still there.
Still living up there.
Yeah.
And some of those houses they took down for I-95. Remember when they put the new road through? Somebody said they burned a Penman house or something.
There was only about one house that went down up there. They took some houses here on Leverton Avenue, took some of them down. But they didn't take, well, the last house down there is, I can't even think of her name. She's lived there long, for God knows how long.
On Leverett
Yes.
Avenue.
No. On Old Lawyers Hill Road.
Old Lawyers.
Old Lawyers Hill Road.
Did you ever go digging around there for artifacts from the Civil War?
Well, I didn't, but there's plenty of it up there, I'll tell you, on my lawn.
On your lawn?
Yes. I had a boy came up and he said, Mr. Miller, can I dig? He napped the place out.
Like Bob with Terry too.
He had a one of these metal detectors, and I got a metal detector too after what he did, but I never used it. Never used it. But he got a gun.
How did he know where to look?
We didn't, but I guess it's a lot of stuff. They camped up there when regarding this viaduct. See, they camped up there.
You let him dig up your yard?
Just a little place on the lawn, but it was on the side of the lawn. It wasn't in the middle of it. And he picked it back up again. And he got a rifle. And I don't know how many bullets he got, and buttons off the coats, and he had a lot of stuff. And I was digging to plant a tree in the back, a little tree, not a big hole, and I hit a plate, Indian plate. We had some Indians up there too.
Pottery?
Yes.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, I broke the plate, threw the doggone pieces away. I'm sorry I ever did that.
Oh, yeah.
Then I hit a piece of copper, about that long, 2 inches square. I don't know what that was for, but that was in that same hole.
Boy, you
And
might.
it's a lot of stuff up there, I'm sure.
Sure. I always heard that there were, where Old Landing Road went up before I-95 came through. No, where they rerouted Landing Road, didn't they?
I think that
To
it,
come up through there to the assembly rooms. That assembly room building, is that supposed to be the original one? That's never burned or anything? Is it the one that's always been standing there?
you mean the one that, not on, it's on
on-
Old Laurie's Hill Road?
Right at the end, right at the hill
yes,
as you
it's
come up,
the same one that's been there.
as long as you remember.
Yeah, it's been there a lot longer than I have, and it's got pictures of, so they used to have plays, they used to come out there for training, see, and that's where they did all their acting, the lawyers.
They had some of the posters in
Yeah,
there from the
all the
play.
posters around the walls of all the plays and stuff like that. You have to get in there someday.
Yeah, I have been in there. Do you know who has the keys? Who is their president?
I would guess Lily Voorhees has.
Oh, that's right. She's head of the Heritage
That's right,
Society.
that's right.
Do you remember when Dr. Brumbaugh came to town?
Yes, I don't know when he came to, no, I had old Dr. Williams when I started to go to doctor, then I took to Dr. Brumbaugh, and he saved my life. I was standing on the cherry tree on a Sunday, and somebody hit it. It was full of bees, and one of them went in my ear,
Oh, my.
and they called him. We had telephones then, and rushed her down here, and he was ready. He chloroformed the bee right away, and he said 3 more minutes, you'd have been a dead person. It would have been in your brain.
Brain. Ah, weren't you lucky? Oh, there are a lot of people, I'm sure, that can tell stories like that about Dr. Brumbaugh. He
That's right.
had a...
Well, I owe my life to him. I was a young boy then, in my teens.
Charlie Bryant,
Do you remember when they made the
Charlie Bryant,
overpass on,
701.
the railroad overpass on Main Street?
I remember something about it, but I was young at
You were young.
that time. We didn't.
There had been some pedestrian
When-
accidents.
Yes, when they built that, they had this. No, they didn't have this. We have to go over the overpass, but we had some way of getting through there. They built half of it at a time, I guess.
Before, maybe they did that after the road was put through out here?
Yeah, no, that was put through before this road was built.
I see. Did you know the Kynes on Main Street?
The Kynes?
Uh-huh.
Yes, they live down here.
Right, is she still living?
I don't think so.
Because there were 2 sisters that lived in a house down there, and I never did see anything about her death.
One of the Kynes worked in the service with my son.
Yeah, their brother, I know I saw where he had died, but I didn't see anything about them. They were in a White House. They said that their grandmother had the store there on Main Street. The old high school up on the boulevard across from the brick school. Now that was built in the 20s. And that was, I guess, after you had grown and left that area.
Yeah,
Did your sisters go to the high school
my
there?
sisters went to high school, but they went to the brick building.
Oh, they did?
Yes. That brick building was in quite a while.
Right, that was built in the late 30s. Were they quite a bit younger than you?
Oh, yes. Mr. Yingling was principal there
All right.
when it first started. And he bought our first car we sold.
He did?
He did.
What year was that?
See, I don't remember that.
He bought the first...
28, we were in the business in 28,
28.
so he had to buy it in 28.
And you were just selling Chevrolets?
Yeah,
At that
that's
time.
all we've ever sold except police cars.
Yeah.
Then we sold all kinds.
Um,
Although I was a partner with Ray Keats Buick for a while, sold Buicks. And then
was that in between or
between, yes. That was, we were partners with Ray Keats was in GMAC. And then he came out to us, Charlie and I, up the city, said, I got a chance of going into the automobile business, but I don't know nothing about it. And he said, I would like one of you to go with me, both of you as partners, but I want one of you to work with me. So we started in there at what's that street goes past St. Agnes?
Ingleside?
No, I mean from Washington Boulevard over, what is that road?
Park Department, 702, please. Port
No, I know.
702.
Is that where he started?
That's where he started his business, yes. And I went with him. And of course then the war came along again and I had to go. And then he didn't have no, he moved out to Catonsville. In that little place there was 3 or 4 stores. About right there where the Beltway is now, crosses Frederick Road.
Yes.
And because at that time, I had to go into service, but he couldn't handle cars to sell anyway, so he did a little service work in there and kept the place going.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, when the war was over, and he said that he called me.
John Grant, 703, please. John Grant,
Said,
703.
I can get a much better deal with Dodge than we have with Buick, because Dodge has trucks to sell and Buick don't. I said, he told me while I was in the service and asked me what he should do. I said, go ahead, take it. Take the Dodge franchise. So that's what we had then. Then when Mike Keach, who's up left city now, became 21, Ray said, well, I want to buy you out and take Mike in, my son in as partners. I said, it's fine with me. So then I went to Catonsville to put Chrysler Plymouth, because I had a good man running this. And I ran that for several years. I hired this fellow Harrison, who's running Chrysler Plymouth West now, to run it for me. Chevrolet came to me and said, we want you physically at Elkridge. So I came down here and hired that fellow Harrison, and then Chrysler came down here and said, we want you physically at Catonsville.
Oh.
I said, well, I can't, I'm not two masters, I can't do that. So then we buy you out. I said, at whose price? Mine or yours? He said, you set the price for we'll follow. So they did. And that's how I got out of Chrysler Plymouth. But I'd like to stay in it.
They gave you no choice.
They couldn't do that today.
Oh, is that right?
They couldn't do it today. They did it when they could.
Did you know Aubrey Bodine, the photographer for the Sun Papers? He grew up on Augustine Avenue up here by the Catholic Church. You did not know him.
I heard of him, but I didn't know.
After World War II in the 50s, when things started to change out here in the county, the people started coming out from Baltimore. Did you notice ways of life started changing?
Well, yes, because we had more people. You had more businesses start to diversity and scatter all over the place. And little business, of course, not big. And the bank came along. We didn't have a bank here either. We did have a post office at that time, which we don't have today.
That's right.
I don't know.
But there have been tremendous changes with the new town of Columbia, but do you think Howard County is better off now than when you were a boy? As far as business and economics and...
I would guess, because you got
Mr. Miller, 702,
You got-
please. Mr. Miller,
you got so many
702.
more people living here, see. Of course, we had business here, but there was a lot of business that weren't here before that time. Of course, when Columbia started, I knew we helped them get started, actually. Mr. Rouse couldn't get the roads through up there, and we helped Charlie, and I helped a little bit on that.
Did Charlie ever regret his decision to allow the new town zoning?
He didn't like it at first, but I think after that he accepted it.
But he did vote, to permit the new town
That's
zoning
what I
as a
say.
commissioner.
Yes, that's right.
But after he learned more about it.
Yeah.
Did your youngsters go to school in Howard County?
Yes, they went to Howard.
Did they go to Howard High
Yes,
School?
yes.
I see. And they went here in Elkridge. Did they go to the Brick Elementary School up here?
Yes.
Yeah. That's where...
And one went to Bridgewater, the girl. And John, who handled the sales here, went to, what's that good school in good old Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh.
And Robert went to college in Pennsylvania.
I see.
They all had about the same size schools, about 6,000 students.
Uh-huh.
Vanderbilt was the one that John went to
In Tennessee.
in Tennessee, Nashville. And
What is your other son doing then? Is he...
Robert, he runs the service department.
Oh, they're both here
Mhm.
in the business with you.
Yeah.
And you've seen a lot of growth in the business, haven't you?
Oh, yes.
In the
Yes,
years.
indeed. Yes, indeed.
Were you and your brother in competition, did you think?
No, we were together.
Did you jointly own both?
Both places jointly, yes.
Do you still?
No, that's what I said. They separated us in 48.
Oh, in 48, but I mean in Charlie's later years. You never felt competition?
No.
That didn't ever ruin your relationship or anything?
No,
You always were
no,
close?
once in a while we got a deal from him, once in a while he got a deal from us. But,
You worked together?
yes, we didn't have any trouble with that.
With two Miller Chevrolets. Did it get people confused sometime, though?
Sometimes, yes.
They call one and think they're talking to the other?
I had a guy call me and said, I'll be out, I don't want to buy a car, I'm going to buy it from you. And he went to Miller Chevrolet Love City, bought a car, and then he found out it wasn't me at all. He called me, he said, well, I'll be goddamn, I bought a car and I thought I was buying it from you.
Oh, that caused some confusion, right?
That was the only one that happened that way.
I see.
I'm sure there were others that did come back to me like that. But
Was your wife a Howard County girl?
no, she was a Pennsylvania Dutchman.
And you met her when you were in Reading?
Mm-hmm. She worked for me in Reading. I had a lot of civilians work for me in Reading.
And then did you get married before you came out of the service, or?
No, got married after I came out of the service.
And she has become a Howard County.
She's a Howard County, and now she's the treasurer of the Salvation Army.
Yes, I get little cards from Mrs. Walter Miller. That keeps her busy. And
Yes, she plays golf too.
oh, are you a golfer?
No, she is,
She
not me.
is.
And then in Christmas time, we learned a lot of baskets and stuff like that.
For the Salvation
Yeah.
Army, through that work.
I had a college home up here on, right off of the old road up here, Cape, up here in Elkridge. First house, second house, I believe, is the colored people live there. And I had this bushel of all kinds of leaves and things. And I carried those things in, but she couldn't do it. And there was a little one there, they knew there were some youngsters there.
Taxi
I
car
had some
702, please.
little packs of candies on top, and this boy came to the door. And he saw that candy, he said, "Come on in, mister, come on in." Well, he had his hands on that candy, very sure. That's it, that was his.
Do you remember Old Elkridge Landing? Did you ever go down along the river as a boy, or weren't you familiar with that area?
Yeah, my father sometimes would bring us down here and we'd go fishing.
What were you fishing for?
Gudgeons.
Right, now that seemed to be really popular. On Sunday, people came out from the city. Now, was that a very edible
Oh, yeah.
fish?
Yes, indeed.
Is that why you fished for them?
That's right. And then we had this stream that started up there in our place, came on down, all the way down to the river, and we'd get eels, and that came up at our place, the farm, where we lived up there on Montgomery Road.
Did you eat the eel?
Oh, yeah. That was real sweet and tender.
Real delicacy. Then what happened to the gudgeons?
We'd eat them.
I mean, why did they disappear?
Well, I guess there's too much dirt and pollution in the river, and then when we had that, the river was deep water too, and now it's filled up with all kinds of dirt and stuff. That's where Rolling Road got its name. When first the tobacco people started to grow tobacco, and then they roll these hogshead tobacco down Rolling Road, and that's where it got its name from. You roll them on a ship up there.
Right. Did you ever go swimming in the Patapsco?
No.
Some of the kids did,
Yes,
right?
yes, I did. No, I went swimming over at Donaldson School in that stream that comes through Donaldson School to the Patapsco.
I see. Is that the Rockburn branch?
Rockburn branch.
That comes through there?
Yeah, that's right.
Did you ever have any association with the St. Mary's College there? Did you sell produce or anything to them? You know, the Redemptorist fathers down there at Ilchester?
No, they were a little too far from us.
Yeah, too far from your home. Didn't travel much in those
That's right.
days. Well, when you were a kid, what Lutheran church did you go to?
The one over at, we used to call it Piper's Corner,
Yes, okay.
St. John's.
Right. And then then when did you switch to the First Lutheran? After you built the new one, or
No, we went up to where they had the old one on Church Road.
did you?
Yeah. We went up there when we started the business up there.
Did you live in Ellicott City too?
At, yes, I had to live in Elkridge when I was.
And you said Charlie lived up there on Hill Street?
Yeah.
But Dr. Ben lived back up there.
He lived there too, yes.
Right. And was Charlie somewhere near him?
Not, no, Dr. Ben lived up there where Tim Herbert is now.
Oh, he did. That's
No,
right.
no,
Yes,
no,
he
no.
did. He
Yeah,
did live
that's
up on
right.
Church
Right,
Road, and
right.
then they inherited some property
Right.
back there on Hill Street.
I taught Tim in Sunday school.
Oh, did you? At the Lutheran Church?
Yes. He's my doctor.
Ellicott City, of course, you've seen some of the big floods too through here.
Yeah.
And there have been more floods than just in 1970. Do you remember through the years?
Well, we've had to close here several times, and the officers come in, say you better take the people out and go home.
Is that right? When
Not-
there's been, not recently.
Not
but-
recent, no, but there's gonna be a lot of to-doing down there now. They're bringing some roads all through this area down, new roads from the airport.
Yes.
It's gonna be messed up fair, I think.
Poor Elkridge has more than its share of roads, doesn't it?
Yeah, when I started here, we only had one road to Washington. Everything had to come past here.
Do you remember?
Then they built the VW, and then they built the I-95, and then they put this tunnel road over to 95, and now they want to raise my taxes and assessments here. I'm ready to
Mike Murphy, Jerry White.
You go tell them.
I'm going to tell them. They're going,
When all that traffic was going down Route 1, there were a lot of tourist homes and souvenir stands, and remember some of that?
we had a place up there that we had 5 different gasolines. Each one had a pump. I come down there when the orange, what blossoms is that in Washington? Everybody goes to see.
Oh, yeah, the cherry blossom.
Cherry blossom.
Uh-huh.
I came down here one Sunday afternoon, opened the gas pumps up and pumped up every one of them dry.
Oh,
The people going to Washington.
there was a lot of traffic
Yes, it
through
was.
here then.
It's the only way to go.
Right. I've seen some pictures of some of the interesting sites along Route 1. One of them, there was a big billboard. It had a big bottle of wine. Do you remember whether that was out here or maybe near College Park?
I don't remember.
You don't remember that. But there were lots of these old tourist cabin motels up and down the road. So that it's,
Quite a few of them up here now.
well, there are, but they're newer.
They're newer, yeah.
The little cabins are
Yeah.
mostly gone.
Yeah, there's a couple of them up there.
The Evergreen, but it seems to be closed. You know, it's all boarded up. Actually, some of the businesses look much better now on Route 1. It's getting to look better. And they've straightened the road out, haven't they?
Well,
Wasn't it?
yes, it don't have as many turns. We
Right.
still have some bad places along the road. This old equipment place up here, got all kinds of old junk sitting out there right before you get to the road, it goes over I-95,
Yeah, right.
100.
Takes time to get rid of some of that. So do you consider yourself from Elkridge, or it seems like you spent a lot of time in Ellicott City too, didn't you?
Yes, I did, but I'm from Elkridge.
You're the miller from Elkridge.
Well, we were,
I wanted to look at this map with you.
our address actually was Elkridge City or Elkridge up there at Miller's Corner.
Is that right? You
Yeah.
could use either one?
Either one.
Well, did you get your mail? Did they bring it around
Yes.
to you?
Horse and buggy or horse and wagon.
Uh-huh. And did they bring it to the house, or?
No, they had a mailbox there.
Did they really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put this here. This is the Old Hopkins Atlas, and I just wanted to look at it with you for a minute. I know it's much older than you, so I'm not insulting you. Let's look at the first district, because that's where we are now. This atlas is 1878. Now, see, here's Elkridge Landing. Here's the B&O coming across here. This is the turnpike. And of course, you're not even on here, because the new road would be over in here, and then down here, this is Furnace Avenue. Coming down, shows the way it looked 100 years ago. Now, I don't know, of course, this is still Main Street.
Yeah, that's right.
So here we are coming up here, and that's about as far as it goes. But then it picks up over here, and you can see St. Augustine's Church.
Well, that was the first church around
Right.
St. Augustine.
So if we go back up here, I want to go back out to where Miller's Corner was. And see, here was a Wayland property, and a Nikolai. Is this where you were?
Nikolai, our property, John Nikolai's property. Whalen was across the road.
Okay, where was yours then?
We
Over
were
in here?
over in here.
Okay.
This is Otten here.
Uh-huh. Were they there?
One of the Ottens was there, yes. We were over here.
Okay. And then Wayland was there when you were there?
Whalen was there, yeah, but she was my wife's sister.
Mrs. Wayland?
Whalen, yes.
Oh. Well, how did your wife's sister?
I mean, no, my mother's sister.
Your
I'm
mother's
sorry,
sister.
right, yeah.
And she had come over from Germany?
Yes,
And your mother came over from Germany?
that's right.
And met your father over here then?
Yes.
Where did they meet? In,
I don't know, but they knew each other some way or another. Mrs. Whalen was over here before my mother came over.
And then your mother came over probably and stayed with her and met your father?
That's right.
All right. Okay, now what is this road that went right by Wayland? Is that Old Montgomery Road?
That's, no. Yeah, that's still Montgomery Road.
Right, because, this is the one that goes into Ellicott City, I think.
Right, that's right.
Because here is where it goes over to Pfeiffer's Corner.
That's right.
And here's where you went to church then. You used to walk from here over to school?
Yes. The school is down here.
Down here. Did you cut across the fields or?
Sometimes. But that was,
The school? No, this is Ilchester. This was Donaldson
Yes.
School. Well, the thing is, this is turned around now. This is the river over here, and you get kind of turned around. Because this is Old Annapolis Road, which is now 175. And this is just the first election district.
This is somewhere where my father came, George Miller.
Is that your family?
That's part of my family, yeah. It was over there, on, where you get to Jessup.
This was probably your schoolhouse then.
Yes,
okay?
right, that's right.
So you went this way to school.
That's right.
Pfeiffer's Corner was up here,
Yeah.
actually.
That's right.
That's where the light is, isn't it now? And the
Yeah.
School for the Deaf?
School was that.
Right in here.
The Ottens, old Hopkins School.
There were a lot of Germans, because the Whalens were German. It was kind of a German settlement right here.
This is my father's father.
And when you were a child, were they living over here?
Yes.
And did you, like, when you went to school, did you ever stop and see your grandparents?
No, because, it was low, our school was up there.
Your school was up here. Okay, so it wasn't very close to the school that you went to. And over here is a colored church. That was,
That's on there.
right, this is Meadows coming up here. Did you know any of the Tubmans? Were there any Tubmans around? White Tubmans when you were around. How about the Pfeiffers up here at Troy Hill? Do you remember that big stone house that sits up there now all isolated? It's called the Dorsey House.
I know where that is, yes, but I didn't know.
You didn't know. There was a colonel or somebody
Yeah,
there.
was a crowd there.
How about the Wesley Girls meeting, camp meeting ground?
I've
Did you
heard-
ever hear about that?
I've heard about it, yes. I've heard about it.
Because the Methodists liked in the summer, they had their evangelistic camp meetings, and they had these meeting grounds out there. So here we are down to Waterloo. Did you call that Waterloo? When
Yeah, that was Waterloo a long time ago.
And there was something on the corner here. Do you remember in your time, do you remember that corner there at
Mike Murphy
Waterloo?
2701, Mike Murphy 2701.
There was a garage there, for one thing.
Remember, Desi had a restaurant there.
Yeah, that was a restaurant there, and then there was, I've eaten there.
Right, now that's all burned down.
That's all gone now.
Right.
They had, some trailers
Yeah, there
a
is
long
a,
time ago. There's still some there now.
right, there's a Latin trailer park. Was that one of the first trailer parks through here?
Yeah.
Or no, that's,
That wasn't right where this
Yeah.
is. They had some, Wasn't too many wasn't no trails at that time, but I'm still, there were trails. This was one of the first places they had trails.
Right, you know, up here on Route 1, there's the Elkridge Mobile Home Park
Mm-hmm.
that Grabowski used to run. Do you remember when that was a motel? And there were just little cabins up there? You don't remember that? You remember when it started as a trailer camp? As a trailer park?
Is that the one up there right near that old junkyard?
Well, there's a new one right by it. There's Capitol Park right next to it. I think it's right across from Loudon Avenue, up near Loudon.
Don't remember.
Okay. Because a lot of things have changed.
Yeah.
I was talking to them about it. You remember Dorsey, the community of Dorsey along the road here?
There's a lot of Harmons used to be around here.
Right. There still are, aren't there?
Yeah, a lot of Harmons around here.
Right, and of course, this was 100 years ago when the family, some of them were just coming in. Of course, here was Belmont
Yeah.
up here on their big estate.
Darker now.
And of course, by the time you were growing up, there wasn't much industry along the river anymore. The floods had washed away. How about the ruins? Did you ever see the ruins of the furnace down here, or was that all gone?
That was a old one. I didn't see that.
Probably everything washed down in the flood. It would be, they might be able to dig over there and find some interesting relics too. Well, listen, I've taken enough of your time, but I really enjoyed talking with you.
I certainly enjoyed this too.
How come you never went into politics? You left that to Charlie?
Yeah, I left that to Charlie. I got other things to do.
None of your other brothers ever were interested either. He was the politician. When you went away to service, were your parents still living?
Yes.
They were.
Yeah.
Okay.
My father died in 46, right before the war was over.
I see.
I didn't see him before he died.
Oh, you didn't?
I didn't get home.
Was it sudden or?
It was sudden.
Sudden.
Look, he went to bed one night, went to sleep, and never woke up.
It was a heart attack then, too.
Yes,
Because you had said your other brother
Elmer.
that
He
died.
yeah.
How about the other two? Because Charlie lived, but he was in his 70s, wasn't he?
Yes, about 74.
Right. And then,
Elmer was 62, and Fritz was 62, and Henry was 36. My mother was 98.
well, when was
My father
that?
was 88. My mother was 98. She's always said she was going to live to be 100. And I went over to see her every Friday night.
Was she in a nursing home?
Well, she was home. I had a home off Beaumont Avenue, Kickendorf.
Oh.
And,
Even at 98?
Yes.
She was living in her own home?
well, she had a lady that
Lived there.
lived there with her. And she was alone a lot of the time. The lady was out a lot of the time. And I went over Friday night. Every Friday night. This one Friday night I walked in and she said, "I'm going to leave you." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "I'm going to leave you." I said, "I thought you wanted to be 100. She said, "Not anymore. The Lord is ready for me and I'm going." She was gone too.
She just had that feeling.
She had
knew.
a vision or
Right.
something from somewhere.
Was she Lutheran too? Did she go to Lutheran? Your whole family?
And Elmer was another one. He had a big farm up there where the Catholic institution was, where we talked about
St. Charles?
St. Charles. He had a big farm up there.
Was this before he went to,
This was after he retired.
when he bought a farm?
And he was mowing in the field, grass. Charlie and I were at Rotary Club on Thursday evening. And we were called and we said, said your brother just died.
Mm.
And we rode up there quick. And he was laying there, and it seemed to me he had a heart attack.
Uh-huh.
Right before he got to the end of the field. And the tractor went on to the barbed wire fence, and the barbed wires took Elmer off. The tractor went into the next field, and it came around and come through that same hole and stopped right where he was where he was laying when we got there. That's another incident. I don't know.
Really strange. And
Yeah.
then for them to find him quickly,
Yeah,
was
yeah.
somebody expecting him and he didn't come in? Is
I
that-
would guess yes.
Where was that farm? Which farm was his?
That was up there
Jim
next to
Clear,
the old,
700, Jim Clear,
You know where
700.
Charlie Figgy is? Charlie's next to Vineyard Road or Folly Quarter Road.
You went across here, you went up, and then you went past here, and there's a big Catholic institution.
Yeah, that was St. Charles College.
Yeah, that's right. You went past there, and he was right here. On the other street.
And now there's, is Route 40 up here then,
Yes,
today?
yes.
Okay. Well, I think Brendel bought that then. Brendel's Park had most of that land.
I believe so. Then you had a fellow, I forget what his name is, bought this old place back in here, great big home on it. We go up there and have dinner once a year up there in that place.
Now?
Yeah.
No, not for Valley, not for Country
No,
Club.
no, it's a school, old school up there.
Not the
It's a
Glenelg.
Glenelg, I guess, because it's a great big home and have a school.
It's and you go to the Historical Society dance? Is that what you go, in June?
That's right. That's where
Oh,
we go.
okay, right. Okay, so it
We've
was,
gone to the Historical Society.
uh-huh,
That's where we go to have a dinner and dance.
right. That's Glenelg Country School.
That's right. And my brother lived right across the road on the other side.
Oh, okay. That was Eigelhardt's and some of the others that were over there. And that was his farm. Is his house still standing that he lived in?
Yes. Yes.
But it
He
was
built-
not an old house.
No, it was, he built it.
He was on Folly Quarter Road,
That's
yeah.
right. That's right.
And that's where he retired.
Mhm.
So you were still all kind of around here together, weren't you?
Mhm.